Okay, so this session is mainly for introduction on Microsoft Bot framework, and that is will as while registering you might have already seen the concepts that we'll be covering. That is some introduction about bot framework and waterfall dialog, the prompts, and yeah. So these are the main concepts that we'll be looking at along with Echo Bot and the core bot demo. So I just wanted to understand what is your objective of joining this session? So starting with you, Sridevi. Hello, Sridevi, able to hear?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah. So I just wanted to understand what is your objective of joining this session? Like what all things you need to grasp?
Yeah, I have worked on Infosys now only.
Mhm.
In that Azure bot framework is my responsibility, and that's why only I am joining this.
Okay, great. So we have Bharti as well. Okay. So Bharti, I was just asking the folks that the objective of joining this session. So can you also tell why do you want to go ahead with this session and what things you need to grasp from it? Bharti, able to hear? Okay, that's all right. So let us continue. So this session will be mostly on hands-on. So I'll not be covering most of the theory, but yeah, some aspects of that I'll be covering. So it will be mostly on hands-on. And also I'll not be covering the setting up part because that will take a lot of time. So setting up, that means installing the Visual Studio, installing the bot framework templates to get started directly without having to start from the scratch by creating some projects. Basically, we'll be installing those templates so that I can create the projects directly. Yeah. So just a quick introduction. So this bot framework SDK is basically used to build chatbots, most of them enterprise chatbots, and this is mainly used to build Microsoft Teams bot extensively rather than the web chat. Yeah, web chat is also there, but it is basically used to build Microsoft Teams bot so that the organization people can directly interact with it to fulfill their automation tasks. So let us go through the concept. So in order to start with bot framework SDK, you need to go through this documentation that is really important. And these concepts are must to start learning this. So I'll just go through few of the concepts, not everything. So this is just a diagram like how the conversation goes. So we have this one channel that is where the user will be interacting with the bot. The channel in this case can be Microsoft Teams, web chat, Slack, WhatsApp. So any of these are all the channels where the users will interact with the chatbot. And on the other end, we have the bot where we have written some logic, some source code, and that is situated in some cloud location or in your Azure VM or virtual machine. So wherever you deploy it. And in between, we have this bot framework service that acts as an intermediary to transfer the messages from the channel to your bot and as well as from your bot to the channel, right? So in this case, let's suppose user says hi, then from the bot framework service, it goes to your bot as a HTTP request. Basically, all the communication happen over the HTTP post request. So here they just send so whenever user joins a conversation, there is an activity that is happening in the bot. There are like various activities present in bot framework. Few of them are conversation update activity. So when user joins a conversation, this particular activity, that is conversation update activity, will be invoked. And then we have this message activity. So whenever a message being sent from the channel, that is called a message activity. And we have this one more mention activity. If you have used Microsoft Teams, then you know that, okay, how to mention different people in your organization to get, let's suppose I just type, or let me open Teams for now. So if you have any question, you can just unmute yourself and just ask right away. Okay. So if I just open this chat and I can mention people. So this is in our bot framework, we call it as mention activity. So that also is possible. And one more is this one. So reaction activity. So for any message, if you just hover over that message and you can just add your reactions. So even this can be handled into your bot framework. So these are some of the activities. Okay. Now coming to when the user joins the conversation, that time this conversation update activity will be invoked and bot responds with okay 200. Okay, that means a success code. That's a success code. This activity is succeeded. Then next, basically two parties will be joining the conversation. One is the user and one is the bot. So there will be two conversation update activity that is happening. So after bot and user joins the conversation, then user sends some message that is hi, and it goes to the bot. Bot replies back with some process. After processing, it replies back the response. So in this case, it just said hi. Then from the channel, there is an acknowledgement going to the bot that is okay, I have received the message. And similarly, a callback acknowledgement that is from the bot to the channel. So this is the how the basic conversation will go on in the bot framework SDK, right? And yeah, I think this that was the most important part, and other things I think you can go on because you can understand, because this session will be mostly will be on hands-on, that will be directly looking into code. Yeah, and so this is one more thing. So how this activity processing stack. So from channel to Azure bot service, an adapter, and the your bot. We have this adapter. When we look at the code, I'll show you where is this adapter is there. So adapter in this case, we can say a middleware. So that will get all the responses. You can modify the responses that is received from the user. You can modify it before sending it to your bot. Yeah. So I think, yeah, that is all. Let's get started with our Echo bot. So Echo bot is basically whatever you say to the bot, it will be replied back. So I have opened my Visual Studio. I'll create a new project. And in this case, if suppose you have installed the bot framework templates, then under project types, you will see this category that is coming up, AI bots. So how do you install the bot framework templates? You just go to bot framework templates. And in the Visual Studio Marketplace, you'll find these templates. You just have to download it. Make sure your Visual Studio is closed before installing these templates. Yeah. So once you install, you will see that these all templates are there for you to get started. Recently, Microsoft has also added this .NET Core 6.0 template as well, .NET 6.0. And earlier we used to have this .NET Core 3.1, and Microsoft is still working on creating the .NET 6 templates. So we'll be looking at the 3.1 because still the 6 .NET 6 template are not yet available. Yeah. So I'll be starting with the EchoBot template, just going through its project structure and just see how the flow is going on in bot framework. And I'll click on next. I'll just give a name of the project, let's say EchoBot1, and create the project. All right. So on the right hand side, on the dependency, you see this warning icon. So wait for it so that the dependencies get installed. Yeah. So now we don't have the dependencies. Now we can get started. So in the EchoBot template, this is basically this template. What are the different use cases? If you have like one-to-one conversation with a bot, let's suppose FAQ type of conversation, user asks the question and the bot has to reply with a direct answer without any sequential conversation. So then you can use this type of template. So user asks something, bot has to reply with a direct answer without any conversation going on, without any sequential conversation going on. So we have in this project structure, so this is a standard web project, web application project. If you have created a web application inside Visual Studio, then you might have seen this type of structure where you have controllers, then where you have the startup CS class and program.cs class and app settings. So this is a standard web application project. And even this is basically this will be a API project for because bot framework works on top of this API. We have is this controller. So let's go through the controller first. How your request is getting hit. So when this project will be run, okay, before going through the code, let me just run this project so that you understand what is happening at the front end. I have just clicked on start project, and this is a sample web page that will be shown. It just indicates that our project, our bot is running fine. And it also gives us some instructions to test our bot. So we will be using bot framework emulator to test our application. And that act as a web chat channel. So I'll just copy this particular endpoint. This is the host name our bot is running on, that is localhost 3978. And this is my API endpoint, API/messages. And that is defined in the controller that is here. You can also change this endpoint. It's up to the requirement. So I'll just open the bot framework emulator to test our bot. I'll click on open bot. And here I'll have to enter the bot URL, that is my API/messages endpoint along with the host name. And you need not provide the app ID, app password, because we still have not published our bot to Azure. So when you publish your bot to Azure, or when you create a Azure bot resource, that time you will have these credentials with you. So still we have not published it. So that's why I'll just leave it blank and I'll directly click on connect. Okay. So initially, when you start the conversation, there will be two parties joining the conversation. One is a bot and one is the user. So on the right hand side, you can see this logging stack. And when you click on that, so you can see on the top, there is a JSON that is sent from the channel to your bot. So this particular JSON will be sent to your bot application. So for now, let's interact with the bot and see like what is the exact use case in this case. So how this echo bot is running. So I said hi and it replies me with the echo hi. It's just a concatenated message, whatever I said with the echo. So it has one job, replying back what I have said, right? So okay, now seeing the this JSON. Basically, this JSON will be sent to your bot, and bot will just get the data out of this JSON and processes it. Okay, so I have clicked on the conversation update activity, and if I open this members added, I can see there are two parties that has joined the conversation. So the zeroth party, that is a bot, and this is a bot ID, and the first and second party, that is the user, and this is a user ID. This is the auto generated IDs. Okay. And what is the channel ID? That is, I am testing on emulator. It is emulator. So if you're just running this bot on the Microsoft Teams channel, then the channel ID will be MS Teams. Similarly, for various channels, this channel ID will be different. Okay. So this is the conversation ID. This is basically used to keep a track of the conversation. In this case, this conversation update activity is going from your channel to the bot. So the recipient will be bot. And who has initiated the conversation? That is the user. So from user to bot. Yeah. And yeah, so these are all the default fields. That was all about the conversation update activity. So now let us see the message activity. So I have clicked on this particular message that is being sent from the channel to the bot. So here under channel data, we have this activity ID, basically that is used to keep track of activities. And if you want to modify the message, then also we can use this activity. So in web chat, it is not possible, but in Microsoft Teams, it is possible. And here, the message that will be sent will be as a part of text. And what is the format of text? All of these things are here. And what is the type of this activity? This is a message activity. So type is message, and from user, and yeah, and recipient is bot. And since bot has replied something, so I'll just click on that message, and from bot, and recipient is the user. And what is the message that is replied? Here you can see. Okay. So this is how this conversation is happening. And now let us go through the code. So any questions till now? Are you understanding, not understanding, or I have to go slow? Just tell me so that I can cope up with your speed. Okay. So let me see. Yeah. Okay. So here, let us go through the controller first. This is just another standard controller where we have the endpoint and where we have this post and get request. So whatever your message or any activity that has come will always hit this particular processing, and after that it will go to the this echo bot. So before that, let us go through the program.cs file where our project is running from. So this is the starting point of our application, and it's just a standard .NET application. Create host builder, then run the project, and then get the in the startup.cs we have this all this dependency injections. So if you know about .NET, then you might have understood, okay, this how this dependency injection works and all. Okay, so most important. So this is configuration, basically whatever you define in the app settings. So we define all the configuration, secrets, passwords in app settings.json. So you create a property and you give its value. So all these configurations, secrets will be defined here, and how we can retrieve these values using the iConfiguration. So this particular property you can use directly from the Echo bot. You just have to add it over here along with this. Along with this parameters, you can add the configuration property. But for this Echo bot, it's not required. We'll see in the core bot template. Okay. Okay. Coming again back to the startup.cs. So these are all the dependency injection. We are just adding the HTTP client. Then we are adding this bot framework authentication. Then adapter with error handler. This is the adapter that we saw in that diagram. And we have the starting point, that is Echo bot. Okay, going back to the adapter, that will be basically getting the request It is basically a middle place where you, in this case, we have not defined a middleware. Here we have just defined the on turn error. So if at all in your bot application, if any error has occurred, then always you will find those error up here and you can log those exceptions as well. So the bot will be replying with this particular message in the channel. The bot encountered an error. So make sure as a like a stand for better user interface, make sure you change this particular message so that this particular message will not be shown to the user in production. This for testing it is fine, but for when you send your bot to production or for deploy a bot into production, that time just change this message that for example some error occurred, please contact your administrator, something like that. So those messages can be changed. Yeah, so for any exception that has occurred, it will always come to this adapter with error handler, and you can log those exception, or for during debugging purpose as well, you can put a breakpoint here and just see what exactly is the exception. Okay. Yeah. So the startup.cs. Yeah. So now coming to the main class, that is echo bot. So basically, as a bot developer, you don't have to worry about controllers, startup. Yeah, startup.cs, it is required to initialize a few things in the dependency injections. But yeah, so only we will be working mostly on the bot class as well as the dialogues. Dialogues we'll see in the next template. Yeah. So yeah, here, so when the member has joined the conversation, we had received the conversation update activity. When we have received that conversation update activity, your this particular method will be hit. So the name of the method is on members added. Basically, this is getting inherited from the activity handler. So if I just go to activity handler, we have like many methods here that you can just add it to your override into your main class. So I'll just scroll down and see. So this is the most important method, but in this template, it is not present. This is so any activity that is hit, always it will come to this particular method on turn async, always. So if you have some for example, if you're developing a multilingual bot, then you get some query in English so that you can just translate that query. So everything you can do those job in this particular method, because after coming from the controller, this particular method will be hit on turn async. In our particular template, this has not been implemented. Okay, so coming to another method that is important. So create, invoke, response, these are the latest features. So we'll be just going through that we are using. We'll not go with everything. So this is, yeah, this is one more on message activity. So whenever a user sends a message, it will come to this particular method on message activity so that you can just write your logic. And one more is on members added. So it's again, you can also implement this on conversation update activity, but we have not implemented it. We have just added that on members added. Yeah. So this is one more on members remote. Let's suppose one of the party that is leaving the conversation. That time, this particular method will be invoked. And yeah, so these are the more, yeah, on message reaction. So I said in the beginning that whenever in basically this will be used for the Microsoft Teams channels. If you have some reactions, then this particular method will handle those reactions. If it is reaction added or removed, then this particular method can handle those. Yeah. So these are the various different types of override methods that can be added to your main bot class. In this particular template, they have only added on message activity. That is, whenever any message being sent, then handle those things. and when the user joins the conversation, handle those things. Yeah. Initially, when user joins the conversation, it will come to this particular method on members added, and it will give a list of members added. Basically, two people will be joining. One is the bot and one is the user. And in this case, it is showing a welcome message to the user. It will not show the welcome message to the bot. So that is why this condition is here. So initially the recipient is the bot. Yeah. So they have written this condition to neglect the bot, because we don't want to send the welcome message to twice. We have to send only single time, and that to the user. And how we send the message in bot framework, we use this called as turn context. Basically, this turn context contains the every details about the request, that is activity types, the message, the users, the user ID, conversation ID. All those details are present here in this turn context. And this is one of the method that sends the message to the channel. So send activity async. Basically, there are like a few methods that you need to remember. That's why it's bot framework SDK is all about syntax. There is nothing complex here. Yeah. So let's put a breakpoint here and let's see what all things we get it here. So I'll put a breakpoint here. I'll click on start debugging just to understand like what all things we get it over there. Okay. So our bot is running. Let me restart the conversation. Okay. So here it just creates a message and put it into a variable. I'll go next, and I'll just hover over members added, and here you see two, count is two. That means two parties have joined the conversation. So the first party is the bot, and the second party is the user. Yeah. Okay. Now coming to the next. So basically, initially, the recipient is a bot. So we are just checking if the member ID is not equal to the bot ID. If it is not equal to the bot ID, initially it is equal to the bot ID. That time it did not go here. And when I come back and when I hover this member, let me just come inside. Yeah. So when I hover this member, this is the user. That means it will come inside this if condition. Yeah. And what it will send? It will send a welcome message. Okay, before that, let me just show you what all things are there in the turn context. So here we have this turn context. I'll just open it up, and we have few details like activities, adapter, and turn state. So this is the advanced concept for handling the states so that your bot remember that who you are. So whenever you come at the later stage of point to the to that conversation, then bot will greet you or just start the conversation where you have left. So all those things are called bot states. So those are the advanced concepts that we'll not be covering up here because that requires like little bit of understanding of bot framework, more understanding of bot framework. So we are just understanding the basic concepts. Yeah. Okay, I have opened the turn context. I'll open the activity. In this activity, you have all the details about the activity. So for now, since user has joined the conversation, that is a conversation update activity. And here you'll get all the details that you saw in that JSON. So all the properties are here from that JSON. Yeah. So all those properties are up here. And we have this adapter with error handler. Yeah. So these are just a logger and middleware set. So that are not required for now. Yeah. Okay. So now let's continue the conversation. So I'll just continue. So now, since this has sent a message, let me go and check in my emulator, and we have received a welcome message. Yeah. Okay. Now, okay, let me continue. click on continue and send a message in the bot so that we'll also see that on message activity. So I'll say hi to the bot. Okay, I'll have to put a breakpoint. Let me put a breakpoint. So I'll put a breakpoint here in on message activity and this first statement. So let's say hello to the bot. So I'll just open the turn contest again. Let's to show you what all things are here. Okay. So here in this case, it is a message activity. So it is pointing it as a message activity, message. And what is the exact message? Hello. So this particular message that is being sent from the channel by the user, always that will be coming inside activity.text. So if you just scroll down and you see this text property, so you'll find your messages up here. So in this case, as you can see in the code, we have this turn context dot activity dot text. So whatever the user has sent a message, so it will be coming under this text property. And next we are just concatenating with the echo colon and what is the message. And here we are just drafting our message using message factory dot text. These are all some of the methods to draft the message, and this is one of the method to send the message in bot framework. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think that is all in this echo bot template. So that was a very simple. Now let's quickly modify it so that you understand how things work. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just let's suppose you want to implement a one-to-one conversation for specific use case. Let's suppose if user has said, let's think of a use case. Let me put a switch condition so that I can add more conditions over here. So I'll add a switch statement and I'll switch it on turn context dot activity. So sorry, that was not the turn context. Yeah, turn context. This is the one. Turn context dot activity dot text. So I'm just giving a switch condition on this turn context. So here I need to add the case statements so that if you are creating a predefined conversation, so I'll just add a case statement. And in this case, let's say show card. Suppose user has written this thing. So what I'll do, I'll just make it in lowercase so that user don't have to type it in first letter capitalize. So I'll just, whatever message that has come from the user, I'll just make it in lowercase. And even my condition, I'll make it in lowercase. And here I'll do something. And let's add one more thing. Uh, let's say add. Let's not say add. Let's say FAQ. And I'll do something. I'll not do anything. I'll just writing some conditions. That's all. For show card, we can just create a quick use case. So let's suppose user has said show card in the chat window. Then I'll come up here. I'll write my logic. In this case, I'll create a hero card. So let me show you like what all different cards are there in bot framework SDK that are supported. Okay, so these are the list of cards. And these are I think I don't see the channel comparison. Okay, that's fine. So we have this adaptive card that is a beautiful interface of those cards. So you can create those adaptive card from the adaptive card designer portal. That is again an online portal to create those cards. Basically, all the card is basically a JSON in the JSON format. And when it is rendered into a channel, it will show a visual appearance. And we have this hero card that will be just creating now. And we have this list and receipt sign in card. Okay, yeah. So when you want your user to sign in to your application, that time we use this sign in card. And thumbnail card is just a lower version, smaller version of this hero card. It's just the same card, it's just that the image will be smaller if you have added an image. So mainly we use adaptive card, hero card, and thumbnail card most of the time. Okay. So now let us create a quick hero card. Okay. So I just want to show you from where you can get the source code. If you have any requirement, you don't have to go through different blogs and all. You can just visit either the official documentation, or you can also visit the official bot builder sample repository that is present on the GitHub. So this is the bot builder samples. So here in this repository, they have created almost all the types of use cases in various languages. So what we are just currently working on is C Sharp, but they have samples for Java, JavaScript, Python, TypeScript. Yeah. So let me open this, and they have like more than 80 plus samples available up here. So not 80 plus, I think the numbering is still mismatched. Yeah. I think 50 to 40 to 50 samples are here. Yeah. And what we are looking for is using cards. I just want to understand like how I can use cards. So I'm just looking at this sample. Same thing you can also do if you have any requirement. Let's suppose uh, you want to handle any attachments, then you can look at this particular sample. Then if you want to send a proactive message is nothing but sending a message without initiating by the user. If you have the user's conversation ID, then you can send a message directly to the user without user initiating the conversation. Then we have this authentication code, and even Teams samples are also here. Microsoft Teams bot samples. There is a slight difference between your web chat sample and the Microsoft Teams sample. It's just that for Microsoft Teams, it is inheriting from a different handler. That is, I think, Teams activity handler. That we'll be looking later. And yeah, so we have this. Yeah, so we have this all these samples. You can look at this and try to build a better conversation. For Q&A Maker, if you know about cognitive services in Azure, we have mostly organization use this Q&A Maker service for the FAQ purposes. That is frequently asked questions. That is again a one-to-one. And you can implement this Q&A Maker inside this EchoBot template as well. So when you get the message, you send that particular message to Q&A Maker API, you get the response, and you show it to the user. Yeah. So now, I think from October, this Q&A Maker service will be discontinued. They have created a new portal that is Language Studio. Microsoft has created this new portal, Language Studio, where it is the one-place solution for all your cognitive services. So earlier it used to say Q&A Maker. Now it is the custom question and answering. So let me show you that resource. So if at all you are creating it for your organization, so you know that you should know that, okay, what I should look at. So now Q&A Maker is named as custom question answering. So all the Q&A Maker functionality has been transferred to this particular service. And also for smaller use cases, suppose if you have a knowledge base that is just a paragraph or a set of paragraphs, then you can use this answer question service. This is the easy to use, and this is like we have to train the model, in this case custom question and answering, that if you have gone through the Q&A maker service, then you might know that. Okay. And also, even the Lewis functionality has also been transferred there. Lewis are nothing but those intents and entities. What uh, what is actually the user want to do? Let's suppose a user wants to book a flight. Okay, let's not complicate things. That we'll be doing in the next template just now after this Q&A maker. And we have this Lewis functionality up here, and the name is now conversational language understanding. And there are like other services as well, detect language classification. Then you can use all these cognitive services. Okay, now coming back to our code, we were creating a card. So I was going to let me so I was going to this particular sample using cards, and I was clicking on this cards.cs, and here you will get the code for creating the cards. What I'm looking at, what I want to use is this hero card. It just creates a card with a title, with a subtitle, with some description, and if you have any images you can add, and with few buttons. So these are all the optional fields, like buttons, images. These are all the optional fields you can add. So title, if you just have the title and the description, then you can add only these two properties, title and text. So I'll just copy this, and here I'll paste my code. So here basically it creates a hero card with a title, bot framework hero card, subtitle, text, images. I think we have somebody, let me see. Okay. Yeah. So here we are just creating this hero card, and images, buttons. These are just optional fields that you can add, and you can add a list. Okay. So now, how do we send this message? For text message, we were using send activity. Even for this as well, we will be using send activity. So I'll go here using cards. I'll go to dialogues, main dialogue. So we'll come to know this concept of the dialogue and waterfall dialogue in the next template. Yeah. Okay. So basically, whatever card you send, that is called an attachment. And this is how we send an attachment. We create an attachment property, the list of attachment, and we add inside reply, we add our uh, card. Let me just show you right away. So in this case, I am creating the list of attachment, and I am also creating a reply that will be sent to the user. So I'll just add my card to this reply dot attachments dot add. So my card name is hero card to attachment hero card. Let me just again check the syntax. Yeah, to attachment. That is to attachment. So now what's the error here? Cannot convert from bot framework schema hero card to bot framework schema. Okay. Now since we have to also import few things, let us see hero cards to attachment. Okay. So this one is part of, okay, sorry. This should not be that case. Control X dot to attachment. Yeah, we did it wrong. Yeah, this is like this. And how do you send it? You send it as await turn context dot send activity dot reply. And here we pass the reply and along with this cancellation token. And then we can end the conversation. So yeah, I think that is all. We don't have to end this one. That was part of the dialogues logic that we'll be implementing later. Okay. Now what is the error here? Cannot control cannot fall through one case label to another. Okay, let's put a breakpoint here. Perfect. Now let us run this project and see whether we can see the card or not. I'll restart the conversation. And for normal use case, wait a second. We forgot to modify few things. That is, this was one of the case, and the default case, I'll be just cut, paste. For any default case, we are just sending the message as it is, like how we have this echo bot functionality. Yeah, for any other use case. Okay, now let's run. Okay, so let's see for the echo bot functionality. Yeah, it is still working. And if I say just show card, then it shows me this particular card. I think we have someone else. Okay. Yeah. So when I type the show card, then I just got this particular hero card with an image on top. This is a title, subtitle, text, and a button. And button is the functionality of this button is to take you to a certain web page. This is the called as open URL in our functionality. So this is called a open URL. Yeah, actions dot open URL. So we have like various different type of actions. So if I just click on dot and I can see the list of actions: play video, play audio, I am back, payment. Okay, this payment is deprecated. This I did not see earlier. We have this payment, but it is deprecated. So these are the list of actions that you can have on the buttons. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was all about the EchoBot template. Now we'll be going to the CoreBot template. That is again called as a flight booking bot. Yeah. So any questions here in this EchoBot template? Understanding, not understanding, easy, tough, difficult? Okay. So let me just close this project and create a new project with a CoreBot template. And I'll just choose this CoreBot template. This is the most, like, not most advanced one, but yeah, this can handle the sequential conversation. The most advanced template Microsoft has removed from their GitHub repository, that was called as adaptive dialogues. Since if you have known about Bot Framework Composer, that is a new tool that Microsoft has released, I think a couple of years ago. And that tool is like the functionality is built on top of that adaptive dialogue. So what Microsoft want us to do is that if you want to use adaptive dialogue, then you can use the Bot Framework Composer. That is why they have removed the adaptive dialog sample from their GitHub repository. Yeah, okay. So now we'll go to the CoreBot template and I'll just name this as flight booking bot. And also we'll be publishing this to Azure so that you understand how we can publish our bot to Azure. Okay, so let's wait for dependencies to get installed. Okay, perfect. So here you can see like there are like few more folders and files that are here as part of this CoreBot template. So before going to the project structure, let's run this chatbot to understand its functionality. What exactly does it do? So I'll be running this and it is running on my 3978 port number and I'll restart the conversation. I don't have to open the bot again because my endpoint is same. It's just that my project is different. So I'll restart the conversation. Okay. So initially I have received this card. This is a adaptive card. This has the same view as that you see in the hero card. But yeah, this has more advanced functionalities. Okay, and later it sends me a message that Lewis is not configured, and if you want to configure the Lewis, then you need to add this values, that is app ID, key and host name into the app settings.json file. Okay, so it works with Lewis and without Lewis, both way it works. So it is asking me where would you like to travel to. So I'll say Mumbai. So where are you traveling from? Let's say Pune. When would you like to travel? So yeah, this is important. Like this is interesting as well. So you need not give the exact date because it understands in a what we say natural language as well. If you just say today, it will able to understand. Okay. So here it is asking me to confirm. I have you traveling to Mumbai from Pune on today's date. Is this correct? So if I just say yes, then I have your book. So I have my booking, and then it restarts the conversation. Okay. So let me just give some more other values. I'm just showing you different scenarios in this case. So here I can also type in this case as well day after tomorrow. Even this will be taking. And if I just say no this time, then it just ends the conversation without showing me that final message. That is, I have booked you to Mumbai to Pune. So that summary message is being not been shown if I just type no, right? Okay. Now let's see one more scenario to verify this thing. When would you like to travel? If I just not give it in daytime format, let's see what happens. So Delhi. When would you like to travel to? This time I'll just say ABC. I have not given into daytime format. Okay. Gives me that I make your booking. Please enter a full travel date, including date, month, and year. Right? So this is the validation as part of waterfall dialog. So you can validate the user's input before going to the next step. So this is part of validation that again we will be seeing. And if I just say, uh, okay, this time let me give the date 28th, 29th September 2022. So even that is possible. Either you can type the date or you can also type in natural language. So yeah, so this is the core functionality of this chatbot. It's just a simple sequential conversation of flight booking application. Okay, now let us go through the source code. Okay, so here we have few folders, that is dialogues, Controller we have already seen, it's the same controller that we saw in the EchoBot. Without any change, it's the same controller. Okay. And we have this adapter with error handler, that is also same. It's just that yeah, we have few things, that is conversation, because in this case we are having this called as waterfall dialog. And in that, what happens, you store the conversation state. So here they are just checking if conversation state is not null, then we are just deleting any conversation state. That is the only difference between the EchoBot adapter and the core bot adapter. Yeah, so these all things are same. That is logging any exception. And coming to startup.cs, here also the same structure, adding the dependency injections, that is HTTP client, bot framework authentication, adapter. And here we have these few things added, new things, that is storage. Currently, Bot Framework SDK have limited storage, in memory limited storage. If you want to have more storage, then you can connect it to either Azure Cosmos DB or Azure storage account, or Azure table storage account. You can connect it. Basically, the storage is used to store the user state as well as the conversation state. For testing purpose, in memory is used. In this case, in memory is used. And we are just defining this user state, conversation state, but in this particular sample they are not being used. They have initialized here in the dependency injection, but they are not used in this particular sample, because again it's a very advanced concept to retrieve the state, to save the state. So that is why they have made this sample very easy to use without using this user state and conversation state. But yeah, they have laid down the platform so that we can start using it directly. And then they have also added this Lewis recognizer. So we'll understand that functionality when we connect to the Microsoft Lewis. And we'll also look at just a basic introduction of this Lewis. And whatever dialogues you add to this particular project, then also that also being initialized here, register the dialogue. And this is our main dialogue, that is the starting point of my conversation, starting point of my sequential conversation. And here, yeah, so starting point is this dialogue and welcome bot. From there it will go to the main dialogue. So for that, now let us see what is there in the dialogue and welcome bot. I click on bots. I click on dialog and welcome bot. So as the name suggests, welcome bot. So it will greet the user. And this is the same method that we had seen in the echo bot template, that is on members added. So when user joins the conversation, the control will come to this particular method. And in this case, we are not sending a simple text message. In our EchoBot sample, we were sending a simple text message, that is hello and welcome. In this case, we are sending an adaptive card. So before going to that adaptive card, let me go to that portal so that you will be understanding better. So I'll just go to that adaptive card designer portal. From this portal, you can create your adaptive card by just dragging and dropping the properties fields, sorry, elements, and setting their properties. And you just, after this JSON will be auto generated, you just have to copy this JSON and paste it in your code. That's all. That's easy, very easy to use, create this adaptive card. So what I'll do, I'll just create a simple adaptive card. For now, I'll just delete few of the elements. And here you see my JSON is getting automatically updated. Okay, so here I have the heading. Let me change the heading. Currently it is being dynamically taken from the sample data editor. On the right hand side, this is the data JSON. On the left hand side, it is the template JSON. So if you so you are just getting started with the bot framework. So this is advanced concept inside adaptive dialogues. We use this called as adaptive card template language in order to pass the data that is stored in data JSON to your adaptive card template JSON. So here is the property that is having the data, and here is just the variable. So in the runtime, what happens? This variable will be replaced with the value. So that is an advanced concept called as adaptive card template language. So that will not be going through. We'll just hard code this particular property for now. So I'll say welcome user, and I can also style my text. How I can style it? There are like various properties here. So horizontal alignment, let me put it into center. Then I can wrap it so that if my text is exceeding my this particular available space, then it will come in the next line. And I can also font type size. Let me make it extra large. I can make the weight, that is how it will look like, lighter, default, or bold. You can make it bold. Then you can change the color as well, like depending on the type of message that you're sending. Let's suppose you're sending to the user some warning message, then you can use this warning or attention. So that will be a red color. And if it is some congratulations type message, some other type, then you can use good green color, or it's just a default, then you can use. Yeah. So let me add image. So I'll just add an image element, and you can refer the image from any URL. So here, if you have a image URL, then you can put it here. Let me go to Google to get few images. So let's take this image. I'll just right click, copy image URL, image link. Make sure for the production you don't copy directly from the Google or any other search in there, because this URL may change at any time. So it's a good practice, like if you are adding few images to your adaptive card, then either you can upload them to your web application onto Azure. So yeah, from there you can refer to that URL. Okay, we were just adding that URL. So I'll just add it. And here my image is rendered. Then I can add a text block, and I can just add few properties. Hi and welcome to this introductory course on bot framework. Okay. And I can also style this particular image. Like if I want to make it small, I can make it small. Oh, sorry, not this. I thought I selected the image. Yeah, you can style the images as well. And let's add uh, action set. Action set is required if you have defining few buttons. Let's suppose action.submit. So let's suppose you create a form and you want to add a submit button at the last. Then you add this particular thing, action.submit. So for now we are not having a form. So what I'll do, I'll just add a open URL so that whenever user clicks on it, they can just go to any website. Open JD Pods. That is my title, and I can just give our website URL. So what I'll do, since I have created this adaptive card and my JSON is auto generated, and few things to consider. So there are like slight difference and adaptive card support for different channels. So if you just look at this drop down, select the host apps. So you can see the list of channels your adaptive card is supported. Currently, we are creating it for the web chat. You can also see how it will look like in the Microsoft Teams. So, so this is how it will look like in Microsoft Teams channel. And yeah, similarly, other various channels. Okay. So I'll just select web chat. As you can see, on the right hand side, the target version. So what is the minimum version for web chat that is being supported is 1.3. For adaptive card, version 1.3 is supported in the web chat. For Microsoft Teams, 1.4 is supported. But yeah, most of the 1.5 elements are also supported. So if I just select Microsoft Teams, and here the minimum version is supported is 1.4. You can see this error message as well. For a few of the cards, 1.3, but yeah, basically most of the functionality is still supported in 1.5 as well. And currently 1.6 is still in preview, but yeah, you can use this. Okay, let's use the web chat for now. And let me copy my JSON. Okay, so coming to this welcome on members added here. This we have already seen. There will be two parties joining the conversation, and we don't want to send a welcome message to the bot. So that is why this condition here is here. And here we are just calling that method to create the adaptive card. That is this create adaptive card attachment. I'll go to that method. And here what it does, it just gets the current system path and searches for this particular file, that is welcome card.json, that is present inside cards folder and welcome card. So this is the adaptive card that you saw on the channel. That is the first card that is seen here. The default card is this that was shown. Now we'll be replacing this card. What I'll do, I'll just replace the content, that's all. So I have replaced it with our adaptive card, and I'll save the changes. Now let us go back to our code again. Okay, so this gets the path of that adaptive card, and it just reads it and convert that to the deserialize it, and basically it converts to this format, adaptive card format, as a attachment. So it will return attachment, and it will just send the message. Yeah. So this, okay, this is drafting the message, creating the response, and here it will send the response. And it just saves the property, like saves the dialog state. So why it is saving the dialog state? Because we want to know that we have already greeted the user, so that the next time when user comes back, we need not greet the user again. That is why this property, conversation state. But yeah, this is still not implemented further. It just, we are just saving it. Okay, now let's see this in action, our adaptive card. So our project is running. Let me restart the conversation. Okay, so here you see. So if I just click on open, and it will just ask me to confirm whether to open the URL, and it just leads us to this page, web page. Okay. Yeah. So coming back to our source code. Yeah. Okay. So now coming to the dialog bot. We have seen the dialog and welcome bot. Now coming to the dialog bot. So whenever any activity is hit, so it will always come to this on turn async. So in our EchoBot template, this on turn async was not implemented, but here they have implemented, because we have to save the conversation state and user state at every time we get the message, or every time this being invoked, any activity is being invoked. Okay, so in this case it just does simple jobs, not much, just saving the conversation state and user state. The main part comes up here. On any message activity, it will run the dialogue, and dialogues are present up here under dialogues, under main dialogue. So it will start up from here, the actual conversation. So before going to this waterfall dialogue step, basically this is waterfall dialogue steps. So before going to this, let us understand the overview, like with a diagram, how it will look like, our waterfall dialogue. So I'll just go to a blog. Uh, there was a beautiful blog written on the C Sharp corner that shows waterfall dialogue bot framework. So yeah, this is the one. This is a very beautiful blog and very understanding blog. Okay, so before understanding the waterfall dialog concept, first we have to understand the prompts, different types of prompts. So we have this 6 different types of prompts available in Bot Framework SDK. The text, number, date, time, choice, confirm, attachment. What does this mean? What type of data, what type of input you are requesting to the user? Let's suppose I just ask the user to enter the name. That is, I am expecting the user to give a text response. So get text input from the user, and the return value is again a string, right? And let's suppose if I ask the user what is your age, then I'm expecting the user to type a number, not a text. So the return value is number. And we have seen this date time. We have already seen while running this bot. Please enter when would you like to travel to. So there we are using this date time. So we are expecting it to be in date time format, not in any other format. Next, choice prompt. We give the user list of buttons, list of choices, and then user just have to click on some button, and the return type is choice object. Then confirm prompt. This we have seen in our flight booking. At the last, it asks me to confirm, and it will show 2 options, yes or no, and the return type is Boolean. And also the final is attachment. You can ask the user to upload any attachment. Yeah. So these are different types of prompts that are available in Waterfall Dialog. We'll be seeing some of them. I think for the 10 minutes, we'll understand the Waterfall Dialog and then we'll start a new implementation. Okay. Yeah. So this is the overall overview of Waterfall Dialog. Initially, you start the conversation by asking some question to the user. For example, what is your name? On the next step, you validate the data provided by the user. If date, if the name is in correct format, like if suppose you have a validation for first name, last name, and user just entered only the first name, then those type of validations can be added. And also, if validation passes, then the waterfall dialog will show the next question. If validation fails, then it will go back and ask the same question again. What is your name? Yeah. Let's suppose validation is passed and I move on to the next question. In this case, I ask the user, please enter your age. Then I come to the next step. It first checks validate my data. If date is a if age is in correct format, let's suppose I add the validation as only 18 plus people can access the chatbot. Then I can add the age should be greater than equal to 18. Then I have my validation. If validation is passed, then it will move to the next question. If validation is failed, it will go back to the second question and it will ask the question again. Yeah. And this goes on till how many questions or how many steps you have in your implementation. And at the last, you just end the dialogue. There's a method to end the dialogue. Okay. So this is just the overview of implementing the waterfall dialogue steps. And we have seen this prompt dialogue. These are the different prompts you can have in the waterfall dialogue. So while asking the question, we use these prompts. Okay. Now, okay, any questions till now in this overview of waterfall dialogue or any of these prompts? Any questions, any doubts? Okay. So, yeah, coming to our implementation. Here, our sequential conversation starts from the main dialogue. Here, the first place, whatever prompts you use, you will be using into your implementation, everything has to be defined into the constructor. In this case, in this particular implementation, they are using only the text prompt. That is why it is here only text prompt. If suppose you are using the number prompt as well, what I'll do, I'll just add the number prompt as well, new number prompt and name of number prompt. Okay. So what is the error? Supports, yeah. So number prompt supports different data types, that is int, float. So I have to define what is my, what format the user will be typing it. So if user just gives a integer number, then I can just add integer. If user wants to type in some decimal, then I can use the float and all. Okay. So here, whatever prompts you will be using, make sure you define them in the constructor. Yeah. And also whatever dialogues, there can be, this is our main dialogue and there can be sub dialogues, child dialogues. Those child dialogues, whatever child dialogue that are being called from the main dialogue, that also needs to be defined up here. In this case, my child dialogue is a booking dialogue and that is being defined up here. And there's a different class file for the booking dialogue. Okay, coming to the next part. Here, we create the waterfall dialogue steps. And whatever steps you write in what order, that order will be getting executed. So the first intro step will be getting executed, then act step, then final step. So it will be sequential and we have a separate method for each of these steps. Okay. And here we're just adding the waterfall dialog steps. And yeah, so this last statement tells that what is the dialog ID so that it can restart the conversation from the starting. What is the dialog ID for this particular dialog, for this particular main dialog, so that it can restart the conversation from the starting after it has finished it. If you don't want to end the dialog, you can restart the dialog. So these are the few things that you need to define into a constructor. And coming to the steps. Okay, let's move to step by step. I'll go to the intro step first. Okay, so this is my intro step. And here, let's first check the app settings. In app settings, we have these various properties, app type, app ID, password, tenant ID. These are all used when you create the Azure bot resource. And this is being used when you create the Lewis resource in Azure. So you can add the configuration details up here. So if you have not given the configuration details, that is Lewis ID you have not given, or Lewis is not configured, in that case, you will be shown this particular message that Lewis is not configured. You can just, what it does, it moves to the next step. So there are like different steps. Okay, one more thing. In our dialog bot, we were using turn context. Here we are using the step context. If you want to access the properties of turn context, what you can do, you can just type like this, step context dot context. So here you can access all the properties of turn context, like activity adapter, activity dot. You can also access the text. You can also access the conversation details, like conversation ID. So if you want to access the turn context activities, what you have to write? Step context dot context. Okay. Yeah. So there are like various methods in our waterfall dialog. Before that, let me just go to the component dialog that is inheriting from. We are reusing few things from this component dialog. Few things such as initial dialog ID, begin dialog. This begin dialog is used to call child dialogues from the main dialog or any dialog from any dialog. Basically, this begin dialog will use, and you define the name of the dialog that you want to call. Then we are using this continue dialog. So if you want to continue the conversation, we just use this. Basically, this is used mainly in adaptive dialogues. And let's suppose if user has interrupted the conversation, user does not want to go into the conversation flow, then user types something called as help or cancel. Let's suppose user has typed help or cancel in between the conversation, then you need to handle that scenario. So we have this in this particular implementation, we have this concept called class called as cancel and help dialog. There we have written the logic to interrupt, to handle those interrupts. And after handling the interrupt, we have to continue the conversation. That time we will be using this continue dialog. And what else we have? We have replace dialog. Okay, to restart the conversation, we use this replace dialog. Then and a few more two things. One more is end dialog and cancel all dialog. Yeah, here it is. In order to end any dialog, we use call this particular method end dialog async. Okay, so you just have to understand only few things. What are the different methods that are available for you to use in order to call any dialog? We use begin dialog. To end any dialog, we use end dialog async. To restart any dialog, we use replace dialog. And to continue, we use continue dialog. So as the name suggests, the method name is very descriptive. So yeah. Okay. Now coming back to here, intro step. So here we are just sending that message, warning message that Lewis is not configured. And here it just moves to the next step. So whenever you write next step, it just goes to the next step. And if you want to pass any data to the next step, then you can pass it up here. Currently, we are passing null. Yeah. Basically, in order to pass any context, then you can also pass the step context to it. If you have something inside that step context. If you don't have any, you can just pass null. Okay. So we'll not be going through this Lewis part. So if the Lewis is configured, then this code will be executed. So we'll not go to into that route. First, we'll understand without Lewis. Okay. Next step. Next step is our act step. Here we are again checking if Lewis is configured or not. If it is not configured, then we are starting a new dialog, and the name of the dialog that we are starting is the booking dialog. And we are passing an object of booking details as an option. Options in bot framework waterfall dialog are called as, in order to pass some data from one dialog to another dialog, we use options. So if you just hover over this begin dialog and you just see the definition of this begin dialog, the first parameter is the dialog ID, second parameter is the option, and the third parameter is the cancellation token. So if you have any data to pass from one dialog to another dialog, we use these options. And that is really easy for you to pass any data, any object, any string variable, or any other type. You can send it to different dialog. In this case, they are sending an object of booking details. So let us see what is there in this booking details. We have these three properties: destination, origin, and travel date. Basically, these properties will be initialized, will be set during the conversation when we have the data from the user. So that is why we are creating this object and we are sending the object to the booking dialog. So now let us go to the booking dialog. And again, this is the same format, same syntax for the waterfall dialog. It uses waterfall dialog. And here, whatever prompts are used in this particular dialog, they are defined here. That is, in this dialog, they are using text prompt and the confirm prompt. And what all other child dialogs are used, this date resolver dialog is again used. So there is again a class file. So basically main dialog is our root dialog. From main dialog, this booking dialog is called, and from booking dialog, this date resolver dialog is called. Okay, so these are the various steps. We have destination, origin, travel, and this will be executed sequentially. Yeah. So now coming to the first step, destination step. Okay. So in our main dialog, we were passing this option, right? So now this option needs to be retrieved from the booking dialog. How they are doing it? Where is that booking dialog? Okay, here it is. Okay, so how we can retrieve the options? You just type step context dot options and what data type you have sent the data of. Let's suppose if I have a string value that I have sent from the main dialog, then I'll just type string here. You have to typecast it with the data type that you are sending. In this case, we are just sending this booking details. So we have typecasted with the type of that. Okay, so my booking details is here. And in this case, we are checking if destination is not null. If destination is null, if we don't have any destination, then we will be asking the user to give the destination. We will ask the question as a prompt. So this is how we are send a prompt. The prompt async, and what is the name of the prompt that you want to send? That is text prompt. And what are the options of that prompt? So we will have a prompt message and we also have a retry prompt. Retry prompt is used if the validation fails, then this retry prompt message will be used because we don't want to show the same message again. In this case, we are not using the validation, so I'll not use the retry prompt. Okay, so message factory.text, this is the text message. This is a variable and the value is up here. Where would you like to travel to? So we are just sending this prompt message to the user. And after sending the prompt message, since this is a return statement, if suppose the origin has or is already there, the data is already there, then what we will do, we'll go to the next step and we will pass this particular property in the next step. Why? Because in this case, let's suppose we ignore this one for now. It's just a programming concept, so it will be slightly difficult to understand few things. But as you do hands-on, then it will be easier for you to understand. Okay, so let's suppose
we have asked the user to enter the origin details. Wait a second, not origin. Where were we? Sorry, we were in the destination, not in the origin. So let me just uncomment this and go back to our destination. Okay, so in destination, we were just taking out this option. Basic, it is a booking dialog and it has three properties: destination, origin, and travel date. We are checking if destination is there or not. If it is there, then what we are doing, we are going to the next step by passing the value of their destination. If destination is not there, then we will be getting it from the user as a prompt. Okay, so when we get it from the user, so basically you can call this options from any step of your waterfall dialog. And here, this is how you get the response from the last step. Step context dot result. And what is the data type that you are expecting? That is string. If suppose you had given the number prompt, that time the data type will be integer or float, right? So currently my text prompt is the having the string value as a return value, return parameter. And this is the property that will have the response from the user. And that we are saving into this booking details dot destination. Okay. Yeah, one more thing. Let's suppose I already have the destination value. That time also it will come into this property, step context dot result, because we are passing that data up here. Okay. Okay. This is the same step for asking the origin. Again, we are checking if origin is null or not. If it is not null, we are moving to the next step. If it is null, we are asking the user. Okay. Now coming to the next step. Here also, whatever user has given the response, we are just saving into origin. And now coming to travel date, we are checking if the travel date is present or not. If it is not present, then we are calling a new dialog. In this case, we are calling the date resolver dialog and we are passing this as an option. That is booking details or travel date. And how you can retrieve that? I'll go to this date resolver dialog. And again, it is a waterfall dialog. So this is the validation. So let us go to the initial step. So our travel date is in string format. So I'm retrieving that option and I'm drafting my message. And I'm also checking if I have this time x equal to null or not. We are checking whatever data that is being passed from the booking dialog has some value for the travel date or not. If there is no value, then we'll be asking the user to give a travel date. And here you see a slight difference. Here we are adding the validation. Basically, we are calling this date time prompt, and against the date time prompt, if I go up in the constructor, I have defined the date time prompt and I have also defined its validation. So I have also defined its validation. In this case, what will happen whenever that prompt is sent to the user enters some data, it will come to this particular method and it will just check if it is in correct date time format or not. If it is not in correct date time, it will just return false. Else, it will return whatever result we got as part of this date time validation. Basically, this is just some library they are using to check if it is in correct date time format or not. Yeah. So if it is in correct date time format, that means validation is passed and I can move to the next step. In this case, this is my final step, initial step. This is the place I'm sending the prompt. If I have the date time, then I'll be going to the next step directly. And on the last step, I'm just retrieving the data that is I got from the user, and I am just ending the dialog. Before ending the dialog, I am sending the data back to the parent dialog. In this case, our parent dialog is the booking dialog. So I'll go to the booking dialog. I have, this is the place where I have gone. And on the next step, this is how I get the travel date from the child dialog. And here I'm just, okay. So here I just draft the message, the final confirmation message after getting all the details. And I ask the user in a confirm prompt by showing two buttons, yes or no. And user clicks on some button, yes or no. That will just confirm its booking. And on the final step, since the return type is Boolean, I have this, I'm just sending the data back to the main dialog. So what I'll do, I'll just end the dialog. I'm sending all the properties back to the main dialog. So if I go to the main dialog, this is the place where we had gone from. I'll scroll down and I'll just go to the final step. And this is what the checking, we are checking if the booking data details is null or not. If some data is present in not in booking details or not, then we are just sending a final summary message. That's all. And finally, we are just replacing it. That means we are restarting the dialog. If you don't want to restart, we can just click on, you can just send end dialog async. What it will do, it will just end dialog. It will not restart the conversation. Okay, so this was all about the demo of CoreBot template. So do you have any questions up here? Any questions, any doubts? Yeah, for the first time, it will be looking very complex, but when you do hands-on, that time you'll be understanding it better. Yeah, so it's better
Yes,
you
sir.
do a hands-on. Yeah, go ahead. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, so now what will we do? We'll be deploying this bot to Azure. Before deploying, we have to create few resources. So I'll go to Azure portal. I'll create a resource group first. And I'll just give a name of my resource group. Let's say uh, webinar 22.9 RG. I'll create this particular resource group, and in this resource group, I'll be adding few resources. So the first resource that we'll be adding is web app. It's a app service. So app service is really difficult to search from here. App service. Yeah, this is one, web app. So I'll be creating this resource, web application. And the name will be, I'll be giving is webinar 22.9 app. This is some random name I am giving. You can publish, like, since our project is based on .NET Core 3.1, I'll be selecting .NET Core 3.1. Okay, end of life will reach end of life on 12.3. I think 3.12, I guess. Okay, yeah, I think .NET 6 has come, so 3.1 is ending its life. That's fine. Okay, so operating system, I'll be selecting Windows, and region you can select, and the app service plan. Here, either you can choose an existing app service plan or you can create a new one.
So I'll create a new one and I'll change the size of my app service plan. So I don't want to incur the charges, so I'll just select the free. So developing and testing your bot application is free to use because even app service you have the free tier, and in while creating the Azure bot service as well, there also you have the free tier. So you will not be incurred any charges. Okay, so I'll just review and create. And create. So if you're not comfortable with this web portal view, Azure portal, then I suggest you go through the Azure fundamentals course that is available on Microsoft Learn. You can also pick up the certification as well, that is AZ 900, to understand the fundamentals of Microsoft Azure as a cloud. So it will just take about a minute or so. I think less than a minute it will take. So it creates two resources. One is the app service plan and one is the app service. So yeah, I think deployment. Okay, still in progress. Okay, perfect. So I can go to my resource group and see like the different resources that it has created for me. So I'll just refresh. Currently, I can see only app service plan. The app service will be coming up in any minute. Okay. Oh, so yeah, I forgot to uncheck this particular setting. Okay. So basically, when you create your app service, you will have an option to create the application insight as well. So if you have enabled that option, by default it is enabled, then it will create a application insight for you. Yeah, this is useful to get the logs of your bot application. Log. So basically that will be used for analytics purpose. Yeah. Okay. So I have three different resources. Now I can publish my source code to this web application. How I can do? Make sure you're logged into your Visual Studio using the same account that you have used for the Microsoft Azure. So what I'll do, I'll just right click on my project, click on publish. And here you need to create a publish profile. Let's suppose you are deploying to a virtual machine. That is also possible. So what you have to do, you can deploy it in a folder, zip the folder, copy it to your virtual machine, to your IaaS server inside virtual machine, and just unzip it, and it will work directly. So for now, we'll be just deploying it to Azure. And I'll select the Windows plan that I have used in my app service. Okay, I think we have a direct option for Azure Virtual Machine as well. Earlier, this option was not there. They have newly added this Azure Virtual Machine. Okay, yeah, make sure you're logged in to your same account that you have used onto Microsoft Azure. So I'll just select my subscription. I'll open my resource group and I'll select my web application and finish. So it creates a published profile for me. You can review these changes. Wait a second. Target framework, why it is shown as .NET 6? Let me quickly check. I'll just click on properties. Okay, okay. So they have updated this template, but it was not showing in the while creating the project. It was showing as .NET Core 3.1, but yeah, they have updated it to .NET 6. So I guess there will not be any problem while publishing because we had selected .NET 3.1 while creating this web application, but that's all right. What I can do, I'll just publish it. This publishing can also be done from the command line as well, using the Azure CLI. In the official documentation, you will have a list of commands that you can follow if you want to publish it using the command line tool. Okay, the publishing is done. Now it is restarting my web application. Okay, perfect. So this is a sample web page and this particular host name will not be valid. Now my host name will be this particular host name /API/messages. But where do you use this particular host name? For that, we have to create a new resource that is Azure bot. So I'll go to my resource group, search for Azure bot. And here, earlier the name was web app bot and that is deprecated. Now it is changed to Azure bot. Okay, so I can just give the name as webinar 29 bot. This is my bot handle name and I'll just put it to the same resource group. The region I am selecting as global. If you want to save it to a particular region, you can select it over here. Okay, now I don't want to a standard plan. I'll change it to the free plan. So you can see the difference between both the plans. So here in free plan, we have 10,000 messages that are free. And after that, just ignore the background noise, guys. Okay. So I'll just select the free plan and the type of app here. This is important. So we have this three different types. This user assigned management identity is the newly added. So for the first type, what happens? You don't have to store the credentials of the Azure bot into your source code. What does that mean? If I open this app settings, you don't have to store the credentials, that is app password, into the source code that is in the app settings. That will be passed from the key vault if you select this particular user assigned managed identity. Okay. If you selected the multi-tenant, yes, of course, you have to put it there. I'll be just selecting the multi-tenant because user assigned required like three more configuration to do. So what is meant by multi-tenant and single tenant? So to understand that, what I'll do, okay, sorry, I don't want to go. Okay, let me open this in new tab. Okay, so here I'll go to Azure Active Directory. Basically, when you create the Azure bot resource, it will create an application inside Azure Active Directory. So I go to app registrations. It will create an app registration up here. So currently we have this many applications. So if I create this Azure bot resource, then it will have an entry over here. Okay. For now, just to understand what do you mean by the manage this multi-tenant and single tenant. So when I create a new app registration, so we have these options. So in single tenant, That means only your organization. So accounts in this organization directory only, they can access your application. If multi-tenant, then any Azure Active Directory can access your application. And the third option is multi-tenant as well as your personal accounts. Even those @outlook.com, @hotmail.com, even they can access your application. Okay. So these are the various options. So I'll be selecting multi-tenant so that yeah, it is easier for me to set up things. Okay. So yeah, so in the creation type, I'll create a new app ID, or I can use an existing app registration if I have any. So I'll just create a new app ID and review and create. Okay, validation is passed. Let's create this one. So first it is creating a app registration. Then after that, it will create my Azure bot resource. Okay, deployment is succeeded. So if I go to app registrations page, then I can see my applications added up here. So let me refresh this one. So webinar, yeah. So here you see this is added here. Okay. Now going back to our Azure bot resource, here in the configuration, you need to add the endpoint URL that we were adding it here in the bot framework emulator. That was a local host. Now we'll be adding the Azure URL, this one, web application URL. So I'll add this one and /API/messages. Okay. Now, so since if you want to enable the bot analytics, you can add that instrumentation key, API key up here to enable the bot analytics. Also, that will not show the complete data, because complete data will only be shown if you have configured into your chatbot source code. So we have, I think, in our YouTube series that recently we are working on, that is enterprise chatbot. Here we had discussed how to enable the telemetry for your bot application. Yeah, this is the series enterprise chatbot. Yeah. So if you want to understand that, you can go through that series. Okay, coming back to our endpoint, I'll just apply my changes. Okay, so now you can connect it to various channels from here. Currently, it will be auto configured for the web chat. Here, if you want to enable it for the other channels, that is Facebook, Outlook, Skype, Slack, Telegram, Twilio, Teams, you can just add it there, configure it. All right. So for now, we'll be just testing it for the web chat channel. And you need not create a web application to test. They have given this option called as test in web chat. Currently, it will not work because we have not added the configuration details to our app settings.json. But let's see whether it will work or not. Yeah, I think it is not showing me the message. So what I'll do, I will go to our app service that we have deployed it. Before going to app service, we need to get few things first. So this bot type, we have to copy it, paste it to our app settings.json. We have to copy this app ID, paste it there. For multi-tenant bots, it is not required. This tenant ID is not required. For user assigned single user assigned managed identity and single tenant bots, this is required. Yeah. So app password, that I'll be getting it from my app registration. So I'll click on manage. Basically, this goes to my app registration page and it comes to the secrets and certification. I'll click on news client secret. I'll just give a name and you can check when it should expire. Let's say 24 months. And I'll add a new client secret. I'll copy this. Make sure you copy it because after you leave this particular page, this value will not be shown again. So make sure you copy and save it in some place. And you do not share it with anybody else, else they will get access to your bot application. Okay, so I've added these three values. What I'll do, I can republish it. I'll go to publish and I already have my profile generated. I'll just directly click on publish. Okay, so now we can test our bot application inside our web chat. I'll click on test in web chat. Okay, let me reload this. Why it's not coming up? Okay, let me go back and come back to test in web chat. Okay, now it's authorizing chat with bot. Let's see. Okay, perfect. So here you see we have our welcome message and where would you like to travel to? Let's say Mumbai, Pune. When would you like to travel to today? Okay. So this is the testing done on the web chat. Let's see how we can configure the Microsoft Teams channel. So there are like two ways. The first, let us first configure the channel, then we'll see the two ways. We'll not be going through those two ways. I'll be just telling you verbally. Okay, first we need to configure Microsoft Teams channel. Okay, our channel is configured. To access the chatbot, you can directly open it from this link, or you can create a manifest. In that manifest, we have many details such as bot ID, the bot name, bot description, the permissions. So those all details are present in that manifest. So that manifest can be uploaded to Microsoft Teams and you can access your chatbot, or you can directly for quick testing, then you can just open this link for faster testing. Okay, so I have my bot application here ready. So I'm waiting for the welcome message to come. Sometimes it takes time, and sometimes when I say hi to the bot, then it shows me the welcome message. But in the case of uploading the manifest, how you can upload the manifest? So if you just go through the Microsoft Teams samples, then what you have to do from there, you can get the manifest. There is a folder into your project structure. You just have to come to manage your apps, upload an app, and from here you need to upload a custom app. So when that is uploaded and installed, you'll be able to interact with the chatbot. Yeah. So for now, we can just do it with a simple way. Okay. So now it is showing me the welcome message. So in the manifest, what happens? As soon as you install it, it will show up the welcome message. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, from here also you can interact with the bot. Where would you like to travel to? Okay. So I think, yeah, that is all on this one. Yeah, how to change this name? This will be coming inside the manifest itself. So you have the option to add the bot name, the description. So when you hover over this chatbot, right? So you will find the description of your chatbot. So you should not keep the default values. You have to change it based on your chatbot. Yeah, because if you are developing it for your client, then they want to see what exactly your chatbot does, right? And you can just change the name, the handle, the image as well. These are all possible. They're like limited features on the Azure bot resource, such as if you go to bot profile, you can upload a new icon for your chatbot, and you can also change the name. So if I just say flight booking bot, but it takes actually more than 24 hours. For me, it took around 5 to 6 days to reflect this particular name. But Microsoft says it is changed in 30 minutes and 24 hours. Yeah. And here you can also upload a custom icon that will get reflected automatically up here. The name will be changed and your custom icon. Okay. If you need more customization, then you can check the manifest as well. Yeah. Yeah, I think that is all from my side. And we are over 6 minutes. Okay, do you have any questions? Okay, those two guys have left it. That's all right.
Sir.
Okay, yeah, Sahil, Sumit, any questions?
No, sir. Now I cleared my all doubts because I am writing on
Mhm.
writing document on this like, so now my all doubts are clear.
Okay, great, great.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that is all. Let me stop recording.